welcome to the first week of
the Guinness Guys.
Now on this new show, what we'll be doing is we'll be drinking Guinness cocktails, and we'll be using Guinness Draft and whatever other beer we happen to be using at the time. We will be trying wheat beers, ciders, and all sorts of things. For the first week we are trying Smithwick's, and we're going to make black and tans. We got into black and tans recently, and we've been looking all over Donegal town for the best black and tan in the town. And we've come across a lot of people who don't know how to make it, or they don't make it correctly, and all sorts of things like that. So we've decided that we're going to make our own at home and make a show about all the different Guinness cocktails that we can have. So we're going to start today by making a black and tan. I'll start.
First of all, you take your Smithwick's and you fill it up to about halfway.
Pass it to you. And then what you do is you take your Guinness. This is just Guinness Draft. This is 4.2%. How much is the Smithwick's?
The Smithwick's is 3.8.
And you take a spoon. This is just a soup spoon. And you run the Guinness down the side of the glass.
Basically, if you don't use the spoon, it will foam up very much.
Just like it's doing right now. That went terribly. Let me try that again with yours. I think we made it right. Hames with this. Okay. Well, we've made a major mess here, but as you can see, the beer is starting to form two layers here. So the beer is settling, and the beer is also mixing. You can see here the addition of the Guinness has left us with a very straight line on the head on this one. So as these settle down a bit, I'm going to add a little more Guinness to each. The idea of the spoon, or the idea, is that it reduces the turbulence as you pour the Guinness, so it shouldn't foam up like it did.
In some places you can get your own specific black and tan spoon, which is kind of bent around here so it fits there, and it's got little kind of
little feet, so it sits on the glass properly. Anyway, aside from the mess, I think we'll persevere. So, here's. We'll go on in a moment to tasting these black and tans. Okay, after solving that major spill crisis, we actually have two very good looking pints. Now, if we hold the pint, visual inspection first, the head is very much like a Guinness head. Yours is a little bubblier.
Yeah. Say that's because of the Smithwick's though.
Yeah. When we hold the beers up to light, they are very deep ruby red, brownish colour.
Usually whenever you pour the Smithwick's first and the Guinness afterwards, you will notice that sometimes you can see the Guinness here, and then just down below you'll see a wee layer of Smithwick's.
So we're going on to the smell test first. Almost a nutty kind of smell, that roasted Guinnessy smell.
I can smell a wee bit of, I'm not sure if it's red or black licorice because of the Guinness. I'd say it'd probably be more like a red licorice.
I'm not really getting much licorice, I'm mostly getting a big coffee thing. Anyway, on to the first taste of the black and tan on the Guinness Guys. That's very Guinnessy. What do you think?
Well, I'm getting not so much a Smithwick's now, but as I imagine earlier on I would get more of a Smithwick's taste down towards the pipe, but after that first sip I notice a lot of the kind of Guinness bitter.
I think that's a lot of that is tied up to the head though. You can see it does look like a Guinness head there. On camera the pint is showing up quite black, but it is quite red. It's a very dark red, but it is red.
A few days ago on Arthur's Day we went into our local tap. We said, oh sure, we'll have a pint of Guinness, and then we spent the rest of the night drinking black and tans.
Yeah.
After a while I moved on to Smithwick's then, and we noticed the major difference between Guinness and black and tan, but also the brightness of Smithwick's compared to black and tan as well.
You don't really notice it so much when you drink black and tan, but how different the beers actually are, but when you drink black and tan, you get quite a nice blending. Some people refer to this as a pint of mild, and I've read that people who drink Guinness will drink this during the summer, and people who drink Smithwick's will drink this during the winter, so as to either bulk up or water down their beer, as it were.
Yeah.
But on the tasting, it's still mostly Guinness. I mean, it is a very creamy Guinness head on this.
Yeah. Not getting much Smithwick's yet, but imagine further down.
Yeah. There's a slight maltiness from the Smithwick's that I'm getting in this pint.
Yeah.
I also noticed, just for visual inspection, you see the lacing on that there?
Yeah.
That's all the Guinness, whereas yours had more Smithwick's in it.
Yeah.
And you can see the head is bigger, and the lacing is not as good.
When it comes to lacing, Guinness is always the king of
Guinness is the king of lacing, yeah.
because of the creaminess of the head.
So I think we'll start doing our scoring now. So the scoring system that we're going to be using is, there's 3 facets of score that you can get out of a total possible 15. There's 3 sections of 5. The first section is how the beer tastes. So how does the beer taste out of 5? I think I would give it a 4.
Well, that's the thing, because Black and Tan is a very unique pint because it's Guinness and Smithwick's, and not often you come across it. And I find, you know, when you mix something such as ale and Guinness, you get a lot of complex flavours. Then, not to say that ale or stout don't have complex flavours on their own.
What would you give it out of 5? Give it a taste there and see. What would you score it out of 5?
Well, I would go with the same with you. I would say 4 out of 5.
So that's 4 out of 5 on the taste of the pint. The second one is, how does the cocktail work with each individual part?
Yeah.
How does it work as a cocktail? Does the Guinness and the ale complement one another? Is it a good combination? Because I've heard about one called a black and trash. This is a black and tan. The black and trash is Guinness and Budweiser. So I'll be very interested to try that. But we'll be scoring this one on how these two work as a pair.
Yeah.
So you can score that first.
Well, as a pair, I would score them quite high because both of them being quite dark and heavy drinks, I think when you mix the two of them together, they do complement each other. I mean, as I was saying, you can get a sort of licorice sweetness off the Guinness at times, but then when you consider how bitter Guinness can be, you know, some people, they say they get a coffee flavour because the barley is roasted.
I think what you're getting at there is that the sweetness of the Smithwick's, the maltiness, does balance out the Guinness bitterness. So I think that that's a pretty good combination. So out of 5, what would you give?
Well, I would give it a 5 out of 5 for the...
5 out of 5 for the combination? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I would give it about a 4 as well, because the question to me is that if you're making this combination, would you drink either? Is the pint improved by being both, as opposed to being one Guinness or one Smithwick's? And I think it is definitely, it creates something bigger than the sum of its parts, you know. So I think that definitely a 4 out of 5 for the combination. Now the other scoring that we're going to do on these is going to be how they compare to the other ones. And obviously we're not able to compare them to anything yet, but compared to in a pub or here at home, how would you rate this particular pint?
Well, I'd say this one would be a pretty standard one. I'd say this is our first episode, and we would kind of mark this as a standard. Now, compared to, say, the amount of times we've had this in a pub, I would say this is not as great, but there has been some kind of, you know...
We've had some shoddy ones, and we've had some great ones.
Yeah.
So this, say, compared to other black and tans we've had up until this point, I'd say we'd rate it about, well, I'd rate this about 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I'd rate it 3 out of 5 as well.
So your total score would be 9. 4 plus 5 plus 3 is, can't do basic math. So his final score for the black and tan with Smithwick's draft in a can and Guinness draft in a can with a little, it has a little nitrogen thing in it. But so the combination of these two as our first pint on this episode of the Guinness Guys, I think my rating for this is a 11 out of 15, and yours is 12 out of 15.
Yeah.
So I think a pretty solid start there, and a pretty solid showing for the Black and Tan. So we will see you next week on the Guinness Guys.